You know, if someone said, "Hey, Dave, can you make the screen do that?" I would have no idea how to do that. And yet, I did it without trying to do that. I was trying to make a game, and instead I made an incredibly dynamic, fast-moving pattern. I am amazing! Hello and welcome to Game Revolutions, the series where I take an 80s style arcade game I started writing in high school. Any similarity to actual Moon Patrol Living or Dead is purely coincidental. And see what I can do with it now that I'm older and wiser, and dumber and slower. If you're new to the channel, you can find playlists for the entire series in the description. I've done episodes on double buffering for smoother animation, and stack blasting for fast copying. I've done optimizations for faster scrolling, and more. Last time we added scoring, and at the end I said this. Alright, well, looks like we gotta start adding some more challenge into this game. Maybe an enemy, maybe I don't need more challenge. An enemy that moves around and tries to shoot me. I think that's what we need to do next. Today we introduce the fearsome Feebla enemy. I will return to my highly sophisticated sprite engineering system, and I will get it to animate. How far will I get? Probably pretty far. These things tend to go quite smoothly for me. You are looking at the mighty Feebla. This is what I designed back in high school to be one of the enemies that you have to shoot. These are 2 frames, which I just kind of cheaply created by drawing one and then reflecting it through the middle. But I got some big plans. I'm going to be making some big changes. I'm going to be shaking things up. One of those changes is you can see these were designed to be in the blue portion of the screen. I've decided to push things a bit lower. I want them to be drawn as if they were for a green background, and I want them kind of swarming around here a bit like those Galaxians do. I want to add some more animation, and I want them to be a bit more symmetrical and a bit less blocky. These weird step things, I don't know how I drew these back then, but I'm going to put a bit more effort into it this time. As I've talked about in previous episodes of this series, my highly advanced designing process involves using a text editor to design my sprite. And I'm going to try to be a bit more careful about how things fit into a byte. I like to try to get this into just 2 bytes per row. Each byte gives me 4 pixels, so I want just a total of 8 pixels going across and then as many rows as I need. So this is my new mighty Feebla. Nice and symmetric. 8 pixels across, and I'm going to be doing some animation. I'm going to add a joint right here, and another joint right here. I'm going to have a loop that draws this with code, and it's going to push those joints in. It'll look like its feet are closing and then opening and closing and opening as it creeps around and tries to blast you. And here's the basic code that's going to do that drawing. It's basically this draw statement here that draws most of it. And inside that string, you can see those 2 joints parameterized by this variable and this variable. The rest of this will do some painting to get it into the right color, something interesting for the eyes, some shoes on the feet, and some temporary code to let me step through the frames to see what it looks like. That's what we've got now. He looks a bit more badass with those goggles on. Striking terror into the heart of our player. You'll notice the aspect ratio isn't quite what we have in the text editor because pixels are wide in P-Mode 3. So when you look at this, you have to kind of imagine it being squashed and stretched out horizontally. All right, let's check out those frames. So here's where it starts. And the feet start coming together a bit. And now they're at the closest part. And then the idea is then I would kind of animate it in reverse order so they would go close together, back out, close and back, and that. The process of getting these frames into the actual game is much like what I've been doing before. So I've not commented out that code to let me see the animation, and instead, as part of this loop, each time a frame gets drawn, I come up with a unique file name, and then I take all the bytes from the fibla and I poke it to the very beginning of screen memory. I'm just poking it somewhere in memory that's safe so I can have a contiguous stream of bytes that I can save M. So if you keep your eye at the top of the screen, you'll see the bytes that I've been poking up there to be saved. And we're just doing 3 frames that we can go back and forth through. And then that's it. So if I take a look at my disk now, we've got the fib 0, 1, and 2. I then run toolshed a couple times to copy those from the virtual floppy onto my actual hard drive. I then use the same Java helper code I've been using before. I configure it to know to skip over the preamble of those binary files. I tell it what the length is, and I tell it that I want 2 bytes per line. It then loops through the files and calls open and go, which just goes through the binary, extracts out the hex byte values, and creates FCB lines that I get to copy in. And here they are pasted into the code. Here's frame 0, frame 1, and frame 2. I keep track of the fibla much the same way I've been keeping track of rocks and holes and explosions. First, I have a structure that shows the global state of each fibla. In particular, the offset into the screen buffer where it's supposed to be right now. And then the starting point for the source byte. So this is the particular frame that's supposed to be drawn right now. And then each off-screen buffer has its own draw info struct. This primarily shows where in this screen buffer was it last drawn, so I know what to erase. Just before the main loop, I add a new fibla. I'm planning to have multiple fiblas tracked and on the screen simultaneously, even though right now I'm just going to do one at a time so I can verify it all looks right. But when you add a new fibla, what it does is it goes through the array of fibla infos looking for the next unused one. And once it founds an unused one, it just initializes those fields. Then inside the main loop, I call draw fiblas each time. I'll go over this in more detail a bit later, but the rough overview is we erase whatever needs to be erased using those draw infos, and then we draw whatever needs to be drawn by cycling through the fibla infos. We have some code to animate, moving on to the next frame, and then eventually I'm going to add some motion so it can move across the screen as well. Shouldn't be surprising. You know, if someone said, hey, Dave, I want you to do that. Can you make the screen do that? I would have no idea how to do that. And yet, I did it without trying to do that. I was trying to make a game, and instead I made an incredibly dynamic, fast-moving pattern. I am amazing. Okay, I think I found the bug. Do you see the bug? Anything look odd to you? Anything make you scratch your head and think, why would he do that? So why, you may be wondering, how would anyone get that wrong? Well, this code went through a few iterations as I would code and then change my mind and code and change my mind. And I do a lot of changing my mind around like which registers I'm going to use for what. Because as I build up the code and know what I need to do a bit better, then I start changing my mind about, oh no, that's a better register for this. Oh no, that's a better register for that. And then somehow, I guess I must have changed this and forgot to change that. So we don't need to use D, we don't need to save D, but it's definitely X and U that we need to save before we call that subroutine and then restore when we're done with that subroutine. Okay, that's better. That's not good. That's better. That's not good. Nothing appears to be animating, and obviously the flashing. And it seems as if, I don't know, is the fibla cut in two? Is this part of it, and then that's the other part of it? Okay, it's progress, folks. Okay, well, there's definitely a problem in draw fibla. This is another case I keep changing my mind about what registers I want to use. I'm using this kind of halfway stack blasting, and I forgot that now U is a register I'm using with the stack blasting to grab the bytes I want to copy. And the register that holds the destination is now Y. So all these U's need to be Y. Okay, this is what I have now, and I will be going through this in a bit more detail later on, but first let's see if I can actually get anything to work before I start talking about code that doesn't work. Ooh, okay. It's upside down, and it's definitely going too fast. I need to do something to slow it down. And also I see it's not symmetric. I've got, it kind of comes out here on this side, and it doesn't come out like there on that side. Huh, okay. But look how smooth. It's like wriggling. Actually, it kind of looks like maybe this is what it should do after it gets shot. It just kind of wriggles like an insect or something. See, bugs give me ideas. Okay, as for the upside down problem, the issue is it's been quite a while since I've been working on this game, and I kind of forgot that my Java code that generates all these bytes intentionally generates them from bottom to top to make stack blasting a bit more natural. I don't really need it to be bottom to top in the way I'm doing it, but I'm just going to leave it bottom to top, and I will change my code to know that the very first byte should be on the bottom, and then this goes a bit higher, then this goes a bit higher, then this goes a bit higher. Okay. All right, it looks like some of it's upside down. The bottom part is right side up. It's still not symmetric. Okay. Okay. It was just a silly bug with the code that I had fixed the bug in that was actually doing the drawing. I got my indices a bit mixed up, and that's okay. Now it's going to look okay. It looks better. Still twitching too fast. I haven't really addressed that anyway. And this asymmetry, what is going on here? Why does he have like that part of his head, but he doesn't have that part of his head? What is wrong with me? Okay, I think I know what's wrong with me. I'm just sloppy. I'm so sloppy. But you know, I kind of blame you, the audience, because I showed this to you and no one said anything. No one said a word. Do you remember when I said I'm going to be super careful and keep the fibla to just 2 bytes in width, and each byte will have 4 pixels, so I only have 8 pixels to work? Did you count the pixels? Did you count to see that I had 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that was dumb. And this was my hint. I mean, the pixel, keep in mind the way the pixels are numbered. If you're in P mode 4, they just go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But the lower resolution you get, pixels just they disappear in the middle. So if you want to go to the right hand side, it's always 255 regardless of how many pixels you have going across. So in P mode 3 they go up by 2, and I knew this, but then if they go up by 2, what is this 16 here? No, the last pixel will start at 14. It will go 14, 15, occupy those slots. The second byte ends at 14, 15 because I start counting at 0. Doofus. That means I have to redesign the artwork, which I don't particularly love doing because I am so bad at art. But anyway, this is what it looks like now. So I squashed it down into actually 2 bytes. It still looks somewhat similar. I just have a bit less space to work with as the legs go up here. But I should still be able to animate it. And I've already gone through that process of creating the new FCB bytes. So let's see what this looks like. There we go. Okay, that's symmetric. Again, it is too fast. I will work on that. It's also not quite showing up where I was expecting. I did want it to show up underneath the mountains like this. So all the green that it's erasing itself with and the extra green pixels inside these bytes that aren't fully filled with the... I just wanted it to be easier if it's... And I expected it to be here in the green area, and it wasn't. So I just have to work on some of these simple fit and finish things. But at least I have my twitching fibla. And by the way, the whole forward-backward thing does seem to be working. That's probably one of the harder parts of this, and that I got that working. So that's pretty good. Okay, I made a bunch of adjustments to where the fibla gets drawn and how I keep track of where the offsets are all relative to. And I added a bit of a timer to slow down the movement of the fibla. There we go. There we go. Okay. Maybe it's too slow now. That's okay. And it's further down, which is better. Here we go. This is the beginning. This is the beginning of what we want it to look like. Okay. Well, that was easy. Next time we'll add some motion and get the fiblas to swarm around. Plus we'll go over all the code. Until next time, thank you for watching.